thank you all. Thank you, Rahul. And hopefully we just had some joining problems. So anyway, so what I'm going to talk today about is mostly related to how the PM workload is generally, how we can analyze. Then we will talk about PM planning. Then we'll talk about PM compliance, what kind of data analysis can be done for PM compliance. Then we'll get into the failure analysis, reliability, and then eventually we would like to understand how the PM effectiveness is and how we can rationalize PM. So let's, in this presentation, we are going to focus directly on the reports itself. So you get a sense of how data can be used for managing PM programs. So this is this particular report kind of shows how many assets you have assigned PM are part of your PM program, and it will also kind of give you a sense of the PM work volume by location, by different statuses of assets that you might have, or the different types of assets you might have, for example, production assets, and some are active assets or some are inactive assets, etc. So the whole idea here is, in this report, really what we are trying to understand is what is the total amount of workload that you might have. So let's go to another report which might help in understanding the overall reports that you have in terms of here this is an example where we are talking about, let's look at a report here, which is kind of saying by month what is the forecasted PM count and then forecasted PM hours, and it is also showing number of PM hours by month, and this is kind of aggregate. So this is kind of showing 16% work is assigned or expected to be done in April. So you can actually, and then you have some areas which has only 7.5%, and in the month of October we have 21%. So if we can do this type of reporting, it will help analyze whether you can shift some of the PMs in other months. So this is just an example where you can figure out how you can rationalize the level of work among different options that you will have as far as time is concerned. This report is really designed for figuring out the priority of different PMs that you might have, as well as it also shows work order count by the backlog. So here, and these are different statuses that a PM might go through in a typical company. A particular work order may go through a different life cycle. So this report kind of shows you, like in this case, the priority 1 is the most important thing. So hopefully you will understand, and this you can actually click on this and go to the report that will actually show you how the list of actual work orders associated with that. So you can actually link a report which gives you a summarized view, and then it will provide you an ability to go to the actual list report itself. So this is another way you can actually take a big picture, and this is as of a date. So you may have a forecasted, or you may have prepared another planning. For planning purposes, this report can be very useful. This is in most companies there are some assets for which third-party contractors are employed to carry out the PMs. So this actually shows, even though it is contractors, but if you all are using information around the contractor's workload itself, you can actually find the estimated hours by the contractor and estimated PM by average response time for each of these contracts, so you can better plan your work. Before I go further, I would like to understand, Rahul, I would like to understand the question on with the audience. What kind of CMMS software they might be using. Can you please poll the
just poll. Yeah, so which CMMS you are currently using? SAP PM EAM, IBM Maximo, Oracle, DataStream, and others. Yes, Sunil, we have the results. 19% of the attendees are using SAP PM EAM. 56% are using IBM Maximo. 3% are using Oracle, and 21% are using others. We will just launch the results.
Okay, thank you very much. So this kind of, most of you are attending, are using really more sophisticated CMMS system, because SAP and Maximo will allow you to manage most of your PM program very effectively, and I'm hoping that all the relevant information is captured, whether related to master PM or all the PM hours that are associated with each of the PMs, especially from a planning perspective. So typical PM work order may go through certain life cycle I mentioned in the previous report. So this report is also showing something similar, which is, and then here there could be other work orders also, and this is kind of showing how the PM is going through different cycles. Here there are only 7 or 8 different statuses, but in some companies it could have much more statuses as it goes through the workflow, and it allows you to understand where it is. So like in this example, almost 839 PMs are in the approval state. So this might be a bottleneck, and that may result in kind of a delayed or PM non-compliance, etc. So this report really gives you a sense of your internal workflow itself, how the internal approval process, how a typical work order has to go through, and what areas it has the bottleneck. This is another example of a static weekly schedule. This could be predefined. This sometimes a similar version of this can be for a monthly schedule or a quarterly schedule, and some of these things can be posted near the actual asset itself, and this allows for any kind of work that may happen on that particular asset. One can perform opportunistic PM as well. So this type of schedules can be very helpful to the people who are going to work on either EMCM as well. So let's talk about PM planning while we are on this schedule. Some of these are simple reports but can be very useful. You can have, this report is really by asset, and it is showing what their 30-week schedule is, and you may have some weekly PM, or you may have a monthly PM, but this kind of essentially tells you by asset or by location in some cases what are the planned PMs are. Similar thing can be done for the next 30 days, and here the square indicates that there's supposed to be PM on that location or on that asset. Some companies have a weekly planning type of culture, so all the PMs are actually, there is no assigned date, but there might be a week 1 or week 2. So instead of exact date, you can actually include the week itself. This is another example where if you look at it, it is kind of showing let me expand this. This is an interesting way of looking at the report. It is showing actually the equipment number, the location, and it is also showing for the last 6 months. The green area is really showing what has been done on that asset in the last 6 months and what is the planned frequency for the next 6 months. Like in this case, the red indicates that in the month of May, this particular, the PM was skipped for that particular month. And so this will give you information what happened in the last 6 months, which will also tell you what is planned for the next 6 months. And wherever we have not been able to perform certain PM, you can do those things on a priority basis. So this is kind of shows monthly, quarterly, and then half yearly and annual PMs as well. So this report kind of gives you a big picture of what is really planned for the whole year, last 6 months and the next 6 months. This is a similar report, but it is really by owner group. In some companies, some assets are assigned owners, and so it's in the benefit of owner that this report will help. For a particular owner, you can actually see what assets it belongs to that owner, and then it also shows what all work needs to be done. At the end of this report, we can actually sum it up by owner group, the amount of work. This will help the owner plan their work, whether it is related to EM or CM or any other work, and then how he can manage his workload. So this will be very helpful from a planning perspective. I'm showing the way this is working is I'm showing you the PowerPoint, and then inside the reports are embedded in PDF. But essentially, these reports are created using various tools, the database from whatever EM or CMMS software you might have. At this stage, Rahul, I would like to find out or ask the second polling question, please.
Sure. So which version of Maximo do you currently use? Is it 4, 5, 6, or 7?
Yeah, since we have most of the people, or more than 50% people are using Maximo, this might be useful to know.
Yes, Sunil, we have the results. 16% of people are using Maximo version 4, 4% are using Maximo 5, 12% are using Maximo 6, and 69% are using Maximo 7.
Great. This kind of understand, because in version 7 and some of these other versions, there is a lot more information that can be used from for managing PM programs and doing failure analysis. So it's good information to have. Thank you very much. Let's move on. As we were talking about this yearly kind of understanding the volume of work, this is another report which actually helps to understand for each of these assets what is the what level of efforts are required to conduct the PM itself. It shows by month. Of course, there are some, the data is not there, but the idea is you can actually look at the planned hours, and for the months that have been finished, you can actually get the actual also. So this example will kind of show you what the level of efforts required. So let's go to another report, and this is actually done by asset. Well, one thing I wanted to highlight here, most of these reports can be run for a site, can be run for a particular location, department, or in this case, it is run for an owner group, etc. So really, I mean, these are the ways that you can slice the data, but the idea is, what data can be very useful. The other thing is at the bottom of this report, this is all color coded. So if the actual report has data, the compliance is not there, you can actually find whether the PMs were done on time, on whether it was past, overdue. All this you can color code and can help you understand the level of execution. So let's go to another one from a compliance standpoint. So what we were trying to do is understand the level of work involved, and so there are many ways you can actually, like we showed it in previous example, it can be very helpful for planners. But once the planning is done, we identified the work, we executed on that, then of course we all would like to understand, how well did we execute on our plans. So this report kind of provides you performance of PM program for a selected year. So this is kind of for the whole year, or it could be for trailing 12 months, depending on how you would like to analyze it. It is showing you various statuses where it is, how many were completed, on time PM. It is also showing the past overdue, and let me expand this so that everybody can see it. Then we will also be able to see by site. Then again, the same data can be sliced for a site, etc. Then jobs skipped, number of percentage of jobs skipped, etc. So this kind of gives you an overall picture how well we are performing. So this could be run for the trailing 12 months. In some cases, we have seen people use it on a quarter-to-quarter basis as well. On the right side, it is showing how many jobs were canceled. So that also can be a very useful indicator because for sake of compliance, in some companies, sometimes people will cancel the work order, the PM work order itself, and that way the compliance may seem is at a higher level, but in reality it may be because of the cancel, especially these two here, ATX and this particular plus is not have too many canceled work orders. So you can actually drill down further and go to a similar report that we saw earlier. It kind of gives you details of that. So let's look at another way of slicing this. This is an interesting report. This may be used during a weekly meeting. In this particular company, the culture is of planning. All the PM is planned for a particular week, and everything that is on Monday morning, they may look at this particular report. So the idea here is to look at all the factors, and this is showing different level of PM by different departments, or it could be different plants, sites, etc. But so there are KPI, safety PM, and then you can actually look at different types of. So how many were scheduled for that week? How many backlog that they had from before that they finished during that week, and then it is showing how many were completed to the schedule. And this kind of gives them the idea whether the schedule compliance is how well they have done. And this was just done for safety. But each of these cells can be further connected to individual department. So, and here you can actually, those same work orders are actually can be linked to show what crew was supposed to work on it, which lead craft they were. So this kind of shows the responsibility of each individual group that was supposed to get that work done. So from here, you can actually further drill down to go to the work order list. So these are, for example, here there are 32 work orders, so you can actually drill it down further and you can come to a report like this. So this can be a typical Maximo or any other list report that you might have. And from here, you can actually go to the particular work order itself. And so the idea is, when you are in a meeting and you're trying to understand the compliance related or the schedule compliance related issues, then you can actually drill it down to the work order level and figure out why some part of the work was not finished, or if it was finished, if it is incomplete for whatever reason, then you can actually investigate it further. So this similar report is also can be similar thing can be also measured, but here it is done at a plant level, and then there is how much is completed and how much from the backlog is completed. It is also showing as in this example how many PM overdue and aging of the work orders itself. So many are less than 29 days and 30 to 59, etc. So this will also highlight the problem in a weekly meeting or any meeting where these KPIs can be very helpful. The other thing, now let's look at the PM trend itself. So here it is showing all the work orders really PM related, and you want to see whether the trend is upwards or downward. So this will help understand the amount of work that we have, and we can actually look at target for completion, etc. So here this can be further plotted and can be actually the similar report that we saw earlier, but here we are trending it and trying to understand how many are cancelled, how many are completed, and incomplete work orders. So this will help analyze, like in this case, we are seeing that quite a bit of it's finished in 08 and the month of August, but in September and October, November, there is a lot of incomplete work orders. And it could be because of shutdowns, or it could be some other issue, as we can see it here, or nothing was planned during that time and there was a lot more EM and CM. This is another simple report, but this actually helps identify the duplicate PMs that may get generated in the system, whether it's in SAP or in the Maximo. Sometimes you can run some program, or in the background the batch program that creates this PM. So, or if you have some cases you didn't perform a weekly PM and that PM still lies in the system, and it kind of skews the analysis. So this will be a interesting or easy report which will give you if there are any duplicate PMs. Let's look at another way to measure this is PM by shift. If you have a multi-shift operation and want to see how each shift has done, then you can actually how many PMs were issued, how many were completed, etc. You can actually monitor this by shift as well. And once you monitor this, you can also trend it, like in this the first graph you are seeing how the trend looks like. This is quite an even trend, but in reality it may vary from month to month. So some idea is to understand the exceptions, and sometimes we all like to understand the trends that are happening. This is another example of PM compliance ratio by owner group. So we had a similar report before where we had what each owner group had responsibility-wise. Here we are showing whether how they have complied with, and it kind of shows if something is out of compliance, then you will if in this case anything beyond 50% out of compliance, it is color coded as red. So this could be an area that somebody has to further investigate for those assets, or understand what was the reason for non-compliance. And again, the idea here is to understand exceptions, bad actors, and move on to the those exceptional areas. So the comparison can also be done. Again, these are all different owner groups, and at a very high level, you can actually compare which owner group owners are more proactive in complying with PMs itself. Again, this is another view of PM compliance by crew. It is showing by month, and here these are different crafts here. Sorry, different crew, and this is showing. This can help how crew is doing, and in some cases you can actually identify the area that will. Okay. This will also identify if there are any training needs, or for whatever reason, if there is no compliance, you can actually look at why there is no compliance, and maybe there is a need for managerial attention, or it could be training or some other business requirement.
Hey, Sunil, sorry to interrupt you. We have a question here. What is the compliance you are referring to? Is it the schedule?
Yes, it is schedule compliance. Yes, right now we are just talking about schedule compliance here, and in some cases it could be for especially in a calibration type of things, it could be necessary from a process standpoint as well. But really here we are talking about schedule compliance itself. Thank you. Thank you for clarification. This is another view of this. It is showing the planning compliance and schedule compliance itself. So we have a number of hours that were scheduled, then an actual how much hours were actually used. So this will allow the planners to adjust or reevaluate the planned hours itself. And you can actually compare between different departments as well here. These are different groups and how many have achieved here. So this helps how the overall different departments are performing. As we can see here in this particular group here, PENT has not been complying with. It is also showing how many are balanced. So this is also further, the PM itself is divided into safety, critical, routine, etc. And then you can actually look at this report differently to evaluate different things. We will also look at now if there are by any particular technician or anything that is still pending. It is actually, this is done at a much lower level of analysis, and then it is also showing past overdue for that particular technician and for that particular work order. So this again is to understand, and this is sorted by the past overdue. So all the highest, you can actually see why something was not done. So this is another exception report. Before I go on to failure analysis, Rahul, I would like to ask the other polling question, please.
Sure. So rate the quality and integrity of your CMMS data in terms of accuracy, consistency, and completeness. And definitely this is one of the most important factors before you can decide what analysis actually you can do. Hey Sunil, we have the results. 8% say very good, 7% say very good, 61% say good, 29% say poor, and 4% say very poor. So I'll just launch the results.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think this was helpful. So one of the things about data analysis is obviously to have good data for analysis, and we have seen invariably with some of the sites and some of the installations that some data may not be adequate. Maybe the data that is entered may not be adequate, or it is not right in some cases. So the analysis may not be as trustworthy as you would like it to be, but there is always a start somewhere. So it's always good to at least have something in mind. So one of the objectives of showing some of these reports is even if you don't have certain type of data that you are not capturing today, but the fact that an analysis can be done will help you start capturing that data in the future. So there are companies that may not have the estimated work orders, or may not capture the actual work hours for each of the work orders. So that kind of helps to realize, what they are missing. So the quality of the data is absolutely essential to have a good analysis. So let's look at the failure analysis, and the whole idea here is we want to evaluate how our PM programs are doing. So here are some of the examples of how a typical failure analysis can be done. So this is a simple analysis, Pareto analysis for a centrifugal pump, a particular asset here, and it could be done for an asset class. And it is showing, and again, this is just an example, it is showing different failure codes and the frequency of failures for a given period. So here it was done for 1 full year, but this analysis can be performed for whatever the duration or the date range that one wants to do this. So essentially we are seeing there are 2 failure codes which are contributing almost 85% of failures. Now this is ways one can then work with engineering, with operations, and reliability and maintenance group to study whether this particular 2 failure codes can be avoided or minimized. In some cases it is feasible to avoid, in some cases it just may not be feasible. So the idea is at least get a chance to understand what is causing the most number of failures. But this is a very simple view, maybe most of you are doing it, but this is another view of it, which is explaining here the similar type of analysis, but actually done for the downtime. So the failure codes are on the x-axis, but the parameters are changing on the y-axis. So we are actually monitoring downtime. We are also monitoring work order count related to CM and EM. Hopefully, there is a correlationship between these 2 factors. We are also trying to look at the cost of maintenance for those failure codes, and then of course time to repair, which has a direct impact on this. So here, if you really see, we are observing that there is these 3 failure codes have almost 85–90% of number of failures, or the downtime. It is causing the downtime. So similarly, you can actually analyze the other. So the idea here is, if any common failure code, which is in this case is impeller related problems, then maybe that is what one needs to focus on solving to begin with. Once you solve that, hopefully it will have almost 40 to 50% impact on the overall these other factors. So the idea here is the simple Pareto is one way to do it, but a combination of Pareto can actually give you a lot more insight of what is the most significant failure code. And then similar thing can be actually done for the problem code if you are capturing problem code, and maybe there could be some other, if you have done FMEA and there is a lot more details on the failure code, you can actually go down to further in the details. This is another example which kind of highlights if you have a similar type of assets or multiple of them and want to have a single view, this heat map is actually will allow you to see. So here what we are actually seeing is the operating hours. The area indicates the operating hours, and the color indicates a respective factor that we are looking at. So for example, at the top level, we are looking at total maintenance cost. On this right side, we are looking at MTBF, and here we are looking at, again, just the frequency of failures, etc., and mean time to repair. The idea is here, in this particular example, there could be over 80 assets, similar type of asset or a similar group of asset. So what we want to see if there is a lower, this seems to be following a good pattern, but in some cases you will see some bad actors which has a lower level of operating hours, but there is frequent failures, or there is a lot of, it's causing a lot of downtime. So this seems to be a pretty reasonable report in this example, but this will be a good way to identify bad actors by taking a look at it at a global level. And this can be run for a site. You can run it across the enterprise. You can run it across different departments, etc. So let's look at another report, which is actually showing you the occurrence of asset downtime. So here we are looking at different types of the top assets with maximum work orders. We are also looking at top assets with maximum downtime. This will help you highlight problem assets. Again, the idea is to identify bad actors. So this is another way to look at the bad actors that you might have, and then you can actually go to each of those assets and look at all the work orders, etc. And then, of course, these work orders can be further linked to the actual work orders, like we discussed in the previous example. So the ability to drill down, get a summarized view at a higher level really helps reliability and maintenance managers to focus their efforts. Let's look at another example here. Again, we are looking at top 10 failure classes by location or by asset, and it kind of shows you different failure codes which are causing the maximum failures. So this is done for a particular asset class. It can be done depending on how your failure codes are organized. You can run this report for different combinations. This is another example. Again, we are trying to identify top 10 assets which has a direct impact on the downtime. And this way, this type of analysis also helps in criticality analysis as well as the managers can focus or identify the problem assets. This is kind of an empty report here, but the template of this report really talks about the top 10 assets by CM work orders, and it is showing you these are the 10 assets as in this example. But the idea here is it is showing you for a particular range of time or date range, and then it is also showing what the failure code were, what the problem code was, and the cause and remedy, etc. So again, the idea is to find bad actors. But if you really, this report can be run for a particular department, can be run for a particular process. If you have organized assets by process, in some companies, it is organized by process itself or by physical location, or departments. And that way you can actually identify in your specific area which are your most problematic assets. Let's look at another report here. Again, similar thing here. We are trying to find from a corrective maintenance perspective. Here we are analyzing for different months, different type of work, the different level of work orders. So here we are seeing there is the trend is kind of not uniform. So at times there is a lot more work, and at times there is less work. Now this can have a direct impact on the PM compliance itself. In the months where the CMs are not very high, you might find the PMs the compliance of the PM can be much higher. This kind of also says if there are corrective maintenance, are we completing it on time, or the because it's a juggling act between giving preference to PM versus the CMs here. This is another example of a root cause analysis, and this is done by cost alone. So this is done for a particular asset class. The idea is to identify the failure class here, and then it is showing what the problem was, what the cause is, and how the money, whatever the money was spent on that particular failure class or code, can actually, where that. So the cause can be very helpful to understand where, if there is a training need or if there is a particular attention that is required for that particular, to resolve that particular problem. At this stage, Rahul, I would like to, do the next polling question, please.
Sure, Sunil. So do you agree that you are using CMMS and other asset-related data effectively for failure and reliability analysis and PM program management?
Are we done?
Yes, and we have interesting results, and I think this fulfills the purpose of this webinar. 0% strongly agree, 44% agree, 48% disagree, and 7% strongly disagree.
So we almost have close to 50-50 situation, and I think, as you rightly said, there is a lot of data available. Some is useful, some may not be useful, but the analysis may not be there for decision makers to make decision. So in the same vein, while we were doing failure analysis, we can also look at the overall bigger picture on the reliability side. So this example here, we are showing the trailing 12 months, and here it is also showing for a particular asset, but the same thing can be run for an asset class or a group of asset classes, etc. But the idea is to understand how the reliability is within that particular group of assets. So here there is a direct relationship between MTBF and reliability. I'm not going to go through the exact calculation, but the interest of, so there is a lot of calculation on the MTBF side. MTBF is a very simple calculation. The challenge is going to be, so this is a typical formula for calculating reliability using MTBF, and here T stands for the time interval for which you are calculating the reliability. So it's an exponential of minus T divided by MTBF. Now in this calculation, the biggest problem is calculating MTBF itself, and there are various challenges, various philosophies, how we store the data, what data we may store, may not store. Sometimes we have backup systems, and sometimes we have alternate arrangements in terms of one line is stops working. Maybe you might have a backup parallel line, or you may replace an asset, and when the asset is sent in a rotating asset case, if we send it back, we may not know when it was again operational. So there are a lot of things that may go into this MTBF calculations, but more or less, even if the MTBF is not exact or accurate, and if it is 80-90% accurate, it can be very, very useful. So MTBF itself is calculated as operating hours minus downtime divided by number of failures. So these two calculations can be very helpful in calculating reliability. So let's look at, in the interest of time, I'm just going to rush through some of these reports. The MTBF can be calculated for each asset. It can be calculated, for a group of assets. We can do it by zone. We can do it, by in this there are two examples of zone, by location, and some of these things kind of will highlight. The MTBF can be used for the measuring of the reliability itself. So, and you can slice that data in many different ways. This is another example where if you don't have enough data, Weibull is another technique that can be used to estimate MTBF, and that is extensively used, and Weibull is specifically useful when we have limited data. So this can be done for an asset or an asset group of assets or asset class, and that will help you to kind of estimate what the MTBF might be. So these are some of the examples that can be used, and it's a relatively very simple here. Beta indicates that failure rate decreases with time. So this kind of will allow you to find infant mortality. We can do different types of analysis. And we can actually link this directly with another report could be related to reliability growth. Based on your reliability goals, you can actually monitor what the level of MTBF should be. This is another example of if you might do it for asset class, and these are only, this is sometimes can be used as a dashboard. This is another RCM dashboard, really focused on reliability, achieve results, but it also actually has the whole impact, whatever the PM, PDM programs that you might have, is to identify how well we are doing. So now let's look at, in the interest of time, we will look at some of how the PM program itself is working. So this is an example where you have a different, this particular example, all we are showing is EM and CM hours and the PM hours. And I wanted to show you in this particular case, there seems to be an inappropriate PM dedication, or there is no PM dedication, and hence there is a very high failure rate. So some of these pictures can give you a good story and why there is a higher failure rate. So let's look at another example where there may be insufficient PM dedication. Again, similar to what we saw earlier, that there is PM dedication, but it may not be sufficient. In this case, there is a PM analysis by crew. If you have assigned crew, but there may be too much work for certain crew, and there is too little work for certain type of crew. And in this example, for a month of September and December, there is no work for CHH02 crew. And again, this can be used, this type of analysis can be used to level the work across all 12 months or the period that you might do this analysis for. Another example here by craft, similar situation, there is no PM dedication for this craft. Maybe in some cases it is not required, but if it is, that's the analysis managers can do. This is another example where for craft there is no CMs. That means either there is no, there is just too much PM dedication. So when you are trying to rationalize, this type of analysis can be very helpful. I'm rushing through some of these reports. Again, similar thing. There may be there is too much for this particular craft. There is a lot of work. Then one can actually evaluate whether there is enough labor available for that craft or not. we have seen in some, this is an interesting report where it is showing that after each PM there was, suppose there is a CM involved. So maybe somebody was not doing a PM properly, and this report actually showed that there is a level of PM. The PMs are not effective. After the PMs are done, there is invariably a CM or EM. So this kind of a chronologically ordered, this particular graph is in a time order. This can help you understand whether the PMs are itself done in a correct way or not, and maybe there is a training need, maybe there is some other issues involved. So this kind of gives you the odd cases here. The other thing we are looking at here, there are some PM out of range, which are between 30 to 70%. Here we want to see how many, whether the PM compliance is between that range or not, and anything which is out of range, we can actually investigate it further. So this is another example where greater than or equal to 130% of estimated time. So this will allow the planners to reevaluate the hours that are assigned for a particular PM, and it will help them update the master PMs or whatever case might be. And this can also indicate, some of these reports can also indicate the training needs. So if you have a consistently somebody is performing at 130% or 120%, one can actually evaluate the training needs itself. This is another example of a PM which shows the compliance and the performance of the PM itself. So let me kind of expand that. So this is actually showing how much was for each location. This report was run by location, how much PM work orders are completed, similar to what we saw before, but actually it is also showing variance, etc., from actual labor and what the total cost. So this helps understand the actual planning compliance itself. Similar report, another view, and you can actually sort it by this delta here, this particular report, and identify where there is too much of disparity. This is a simple report, but it is actually showing you trend by site for number of corrective work orders. At the same time, you are looking at the proactive work orders or PM programs. Some cases there could be more than other PMs, and then also the downtime. So this will show you a story pictorially whether there is a correlationship between the PM program and actual downtime or the EM and CM. So if we have skipped, like in this case, red means that the compliance is greater than only about 20%, then are we seeing there is a pattern or not? So this kind of allows you to get a picture at a site level, etc. In the interest of time, I'm just going to rush through some general reports here. Now let's look at quickly how you can actually rationalize PM. I have very few minutes here. So you can actually look at the downtime, look at the big picture as we saw earlier, and then understand whether the PM program that you have is really, the trends will show you whether it is yielding you results or not. Then actually you can have some ways to show alerts whether the critical PMs are not done, and then it can be escalated. It could be related to any asset down more than 48 hours, especially critical assets. You can have some reports which will escalate to the right people. Actually, there is a statistical way of calculating optimum PM. In the interest of time, I just cannot go through all the calculations, but here essentially we are trying to correlate whether the PM interval, one can do some experiment and increase the interval and see what results they get, and then once they collect good data, it can be calculated using Weibull analysis. One can one can actually arrive at the optimum PM interval itself. And this you may do it for assets where you have a lot of assets, and you can actually do what-if scenario, etc. This is another report which actually will tell you the time to execute PM, so the time interval, and then you can actually look at the, this is not exactly the MTTR, but something similar to actually perform the PM itself, the actual hours, and how can you optimize that. So again, what we will do right now is if there are any questions, maybe we can address some of the questions, Rahul.
Sure. Though we know we are over time, but we will try and answer some questions. I have a question. How do you calculate MTBF and downtime?
These are different calculations. A lot of things will depend on the way the data is gathered. As I said earlier in my conversation, MTBF can be very difficult if proper data is not captured. But to calculate, the calculation is very simple. We will calculate the operating hours minus downtime and the number of occurrences. So that's the theoretical side of it. And then obviously, how do you calculate operating hours? And then how do you calculate the downtime? And the downtime itself, in some companies, is recorded as a separate way of, so they will record it. Sometimes some data can be captured from the process data itself or any other condition monitoring that they may have. In some cases, there may be a backup system, so so some of those things need to be calculated. So, but to fair, it is not a straightforward calculation. Some amount of work is required to do the MTBF and downtime calculations.
We have one more question. Please suggest how to define KPIs to monitor PM performance.
There are many different KPIs that can be devised depending on how the PM program itself, at what maturity level the PM program itself is at. So for example, you are at an initial stage, and so it could be the highest priority you might do is only onto the schedule compliance. If we have scheduled some PM, are we able to finish it in time? Or then we can also devise another KPI related to that is how many backlog PMs do you have? Out of total PMs, how many percentage backlog PMs do we have? You can also then, as you move forward, as we mature in the program, then you can actually correlate it with the failures itself. And the KPIs can be associated with the failure rate and the PM completion rate or PM compliance rate. So as we move forward, so there are quite a few leading indicators that you can define, as well as there could be some lagging indicators. So typically the failure and the reliability will be all lagging indicators. So the compliance, all those things might be the leading indicators. So it's a very lengthy, it can be a lengthy answer, but I try to kind of give you a sense of it. Any other questions?
Yeah, we have a few more questions. Are these reports ready to be deployed?
These reports are just examples. They are developed for variety of CMMS like SAP and Maximo. So they can be customized to their respective installation or configuration of CMMS, but they almost have all the functional specifications. They have a lot of things that can be almost 60–70% of work can be reused. So overall time to deploy will be a lot less compared to if somebody has to build it from scratch.
How do we know what all analysis is possible for our current data, with our current data, I'm sorry?
That is again, one has to do an assessment. kind of judge and in that assessment one has to see what is captured, what the quality of data is, and also one can actually do a data audit and understand various aspects and then see whether the data is analysis ready. So what I would do is do an assessment of various reporting possibilities the reports that are required to do a particular type of business problem analysis, and then see whether the data is sufficient and complete to do that analysis.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions. I'll just try and combine few questions. So can you help us with data audit is one question, and we have one more question. How many staff are typically assigned to generate these reports and write the code for tables?
The first question, can you please repeat the first question?
Can we help with the data audit?
Oh, yes, of course we can help with the data audit. So the second question that you asked is how many people. Actually, once you set it up, the challenge is to set up the first time. If somebody is savvy with SQL, savvy with the functionality of the CMMS system, they potentially can build a analysis like this. But there could be some other factors in this to make it what we call it as production ready reports. Sometimes there could be a lot of things that needs to be done in terms of QA, in terms of how the data is captured, how it is eliminated, all the things that go into building such an analysis. But once it is done, actually it can be reused. Some people can tweak it further to actually to suit their particular requirement. Anything else?
Yeah, we have a lot of questions. We're sorry, people. What we'll do, we will try and answer your questions over the email.
Okay. So now we also want to, announce the next webinar, please.
Yeah, sure. Our next webinar will be on spare part optimization on May 17th. We will send you all the invites for those for that webinar. So I think, Sunil, what we can do, we can answer the questions over the email because we are already over time. So I thank everyone for joining this webinar, taking out time, and I hope this was worth your while. And I'd also like to thank, because there are a lot of people who are from the part of the world where it's probably the midnight, and we thank you, and this really is encouraging for us. And if you have any special requests, if you request any webinar around your topics, please do send us your suggestions, and we will try to arrange webinars on those topics. Sunil, you want to say something?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much, and thanks a lot for attending the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.